What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Waves and Rides. My name is Ryan. Today's video, we're talking about Disneyland. Welcome back to the channel, everybody. In today's discussion, we are talking about Disneyland. Before we jump into everything Disneyland, make sure to like this video, subscribe to the channel, follow us on TikTok and Instagram to keep up with everything that we are doing. Now, Disneyland, of course, you probably already know, it opened up July 17th, 1955. I have now been to Disneyland twice in my lifetime. The last few years, actually, I had always gone to Disney World in Florida, and just recently, like I said, within the last few years, I had made the trip over to Disneyland to see the original park. Now, in this discussion, we're going to talk basically all things Disneyland in general. We're going to talk about some little tips and tricks if you haven't been to Disneyland yet and are planning on a trip to go soon. It's a fantastic park. You have to visit the original. Let's dive right in. So, Disneyland, of course, is in Anaheim, California. If you don't know, it consists of 2 parks, 3 hotels, and of course a shopping district. Now, the great thing about Disneyland is that the 2 parks are literally right across from each other. The entrances are within feet of each other, and right in the middle, going out, stretching out, is the downtown Disney shopping area. So I first went to Disneyland back in 2022, was my very first visit. I was super excited for it. Now, one of the things that I was super excited for was seeing the original park, the original Walt Disney Park that he walked through himself, that he opened up. And you see those historic videos where he's making the entrance and telling everybody, welcome to the most happiest place on earth. And so just kind of seeing it in person, you really feel the history. Walking into Disneyland for the very first time, the original park, you really feel that history as you're walking through. Of course, obviously, there's updates since 1955, but walking through the park, you kind of get the sense of history. You kind of see where Walt walked, you stand where he stood, you get to see all the things, you get to see, if you did not know, there is an apartment above the fire station right there as you're getting on entrance onto Main Street. And there is a light, a little lantern in the window, lets you know that Walt is always there. And that's a fantastic thing to see. It almost brought me to tears the first time I saw it. Walking down Main Street, seeing the original castle, and then of course all the lands there. Tomorrowland, you get the Frontierland, you get Adventureland, you get Toontown, which I do miss from the Florida parks. You get the Toontown area, of course, where they have a lot of the updated Toon rides. And then in Disneyland, of course, is as well Galaxy's Edge for the Star Wars area. Fantastic park. Right across, if you didn't know, is California Adventure. Literally right across the way, steps away from the entrance to Disneyland, is the entrance to California Adventure. California Adventure reminds me much of Hollywood Studios in Florida, if you've ever been there. Now, California Adventure is a fantastic park. It's very much welcome to the movies, welcome to California kind of mixed in there. So you're getting a mix of walking in to the Marvel movies, into the Cars land, and kind of seeing what it feels like to walk through old Hollywood during the Golden Age. And then a little bit of California where you get the Grizzly Peak area. You now have the newly renovated San Francisco area, which used to be the Pacific Wharf. You get that sense. And then, of course, going around the backside of the park where the iconic Ferris wheel is in Pixar Pier is one of the most awesome kind of places to see. It feels like a small part of the park, but it's very packed full of the Pixar nostalgia as you're going through there with all the rides, games, and everything that they have. Now, of course, in between the 2 parks is the downtown Disney area, which has basically the big giant Disney store, the shopping district with all the shops, all the restaurants. There is a lot of renovation always essentially going on in the downtown Disney area. There is always new shops, new stores, new restaurants getting opened up. This last time that we went, there was a new entrance into the shopping area from the parking lot, so it was kind of cool to see the brand new entrance, and it kind of streamlined the security kind of passageway there, really streamlined the crowds getting into the downtown Disney area. Of course, it has the iconic Lego store. It has all the different shops that you can think of with things Disney, World of Disney, of course, and some really great restaurants that if you get a chance to just kind of spend an evening out there, it is totally worth that. And then, of course, at the end of that shopping district, you have the Disneyland Hotel. So you have the actual Disneyland Hotel, Pixar Place Hotel, and then, of course, right next to the California Adventure Park, you have the Grand Californian Hotel. Now, just kind of some tips and tricks about Disneyland itself. I will recommend, if you can afford it, by all means, stay at the Disney parks. If you're on a budget like we were whenever we went, I always recommend staying at the Good Neighbor hotels. The Good Neighbor hotels, when you go to the Disney website, are hotels, of course, that are partnered with Disney to make it a little bit more affordable to stay at hotels very close to the park. Some within walking distance, others you do have to drive just a little bit. But it is a great way to stay budget friendly. That's always my recommendation if you're going for the first time. If you can swing one of those Disney resorts, by all means, pay for one of those. You get, of course, luxury to the max when it comes to Disneyland. Now, again, budget friendly, you can stay at those Good Neighbor hotels, but you can still visit those Disneyland resorts. They have things like restaurants and shops in those resorts if you just want to kind of stop by and be a guest there, just to kind of resort hop and kind of take in what those resorts have to offer without staying there. One of the trips that we made, we did a character dining in the Disneyland Hotel, which was actually really, really fun. It was a character breakfast where the characters, of course, come out to the table, interact with you, have a blast, and you get to eat some great food as well. Now, those can get a little bit pricey depending on what time of year you go, what type of meal it's going to be, breakfast, lunch, what type of characters you're actually going to interact with. That changes as well. So it just varies depending on what you set up, but it is worth it doing some sort of experience around the hotels themselves. So again, budget friendly, stay at those Good Neighbor ones. If you can swing it, do the Disneyland resorts. But if you're not staying there, you can still check out all that they have to offer restaurant and shop wise. Now, the parks themselves, one of the things that I would also recommend if you're planning a trip to either park, to both parks, if you're doing them all in one day or if you're doing them 2 separate days. Personally, I would do 2 separate days to the parks because you get a full day at each one. So the great thing about that is you get to experience all the things that each individual park has to offer. You get the history of the original park, you get kind of the updates and the more laid-back vibe of the California Adventure Park, and you get to experience both into their fullness. You get to see all the details, all that the Imagineers put into those parks and all the details. There are a ton of Easter eggs to the original Walt Disney Studio. In the parks, there also is just little nostalgic things that if you really pay attention, you can see the history in the original park. So I would recommend doing 2 days and doing a day at each park so you can really take in those details there. Now, within those 2 days, one of the things that I definitely recommend is doing the Lightning Lane if you can. When you book it, Disneyland, unlike Disney World in Florida, you can book the Lightning Lane in advance. You can pay for that with your park admission. Now, the great thing about that is, of course, you do have to do the selection of which rides you can do at what times. The slots are open, but it does give you the opportunity to skip a lot of lines, to do a lot of rides. On our last trip we took in November, right around the holiday season, actually the week of Thanksgiving, which of course is one of the busiest weeks for the park, as it is around those holiday time. And so just to kind of help with the crowds, we knew it was going to be busy. One of the things we did was took advantage of the Lightning Lane. I do recommend that. It gets you past all those lines. Again, you make your selections as you're going throughout the park. You do get a little bit of ping-ponging back and forth, so be ready to make your steps. Be ready to kind of track those and see how many steps you can get in. But I do recommend that simply as a time saver. We were able, in a group of 6 people, or actually 7, we were able to skip a lot of the lines, save a lot of time, and actually ride almost everything that Disneyland has to offer, even in just the one day at the Disneyland park. and at California Adventure having a day there. We were able to ride basically every ride because of the Lightning Lane. Saved us so much time. So that is a recommendation there. Now, while you're in Anaheim, of course, you always have to make sure that you're taking in a day for each area, like I said, for each park. I would also recommend, if you're flying in, if you're driving in, spend the evening at downtown Disney. Do what you can to find a restaurant reservation for something that looks good there. Take the time to shop in World of Disney. You get a lot of your shopping out of the way. If you want to do that first before your park days, you get a lot of shopping out of the way before you're into the parks. That way you can kind of get the shopping done, have your items waiting for you in your hotel room before you actually go into the parks and make the purchase there. You have to walk around the park with your items. Disney does have a service where they can hold your items for you until the end of the day. Again, to me, it's just easier making those purchases beforehand at the World of Disney and going out to the parks those following days. So again, so much fun, so much history there. Now, I've been there in 22 and in 24. The little bit of differences that you'll see in each park. So in 22, we went in the summertime. Of course, in California, summertime is not overbearingly hot. It was really nice weather for us coming from Texas, who our summers get easily into the triple digits days in a row. So going to California in the summertime for Disneyland, it was actually pretty nice. It was actually in the mid to upper 80s almost the entire time we were there. So it was really, really nice. We even took sweaters for the evening time as the sun goes down. It gets a little bit cool. We didn't always use them, but we had them there just in case we needed to. So going in the summertime is actually really, really nice weather. Now this last time we went in 2024, like I said, during the week of Thanksgiving. So it was obviously cooler and it was all decorated for the holidays. Everything was up as far as decoration wise in the park. So that was really awesome to see. One of my favorite things. I love Christmas time. So seeing the park all dressed up for Christmas was great. Seeing the snow on the castle and it light up at night is fantastic. Seeing the decorations all through the Disneyland and California Adventure parks was so cool. They even have little holiday displays in downtown Disney where you could see little displays like snowmen or ornaments. Really awesome to see, and it's so much fun to take pictures in front of those displays and with the decorations and kind of seeing everything dressed up for Christmas. So going in 2 different times of the year, I would say go whenever is best for you. If you can make the trip at multiple times of the year, whether it be fall time, Christmas time, summer, and can kind of see the park in all its phases, I would recommend doing that. Now, I haven't seen the park in fall. I would like to see that with the fall decorations and Halloween and everything. But seeing it in the summer, seeing it dressed up for Christmas, I would recommend doing each one if you can. And you can see the park in its different phases. Like I was saying, you can see the different decorations that they have for different times of the year, and it's so much fun. Now, my favorite ride at Disneyland was the Rise of the Resistance at Galaxy's Edge, the Star Wars area. I had finally ridden that ride. I'd been to Disney World and even in Disneyland a few times before I finally was able to ride Rise of the Resistance. Every time I've tried to ride that ride before this last visit, the ride was either broken down or something happened to it. I believe the first time we did it, it was a virtual queue and we just happened to not be able to get one. But I finally was able to ride the ride, and there's so much different technology that goes into that ride. It makes it an amazing ride. If you've done it in Florida, then you know what it's like in California. It's the exact same layout, the exact same ride. My first time experiencing it, so much fun, such a fantastic ride. That's really the best top tier that Imagineering has done, in my opinion. The best ride that they've ever put together. Now, of course, Disneyland is full of nostalgic rides. You get the Dumbo flying elephants, you get the Peter Pan ride, you get the teacups. Do all of those. You get Small World, the original It's a Small World ride from the 1964 World's Fair. You get the original ride, so I would highly recommend doing that. Now, the main difference between that one and the Florida ride doesn't have the characters in it. The one in California does. It has characters in each country for where they're from, where it matches. So it's really cool to see. Again, Disneyland also has the Toontown area. So that one you get to go through Mickey and Minnie's house and have a photo op with the characters. which is really cool. I miss that from the Florida parks when I was a kid, going and seeing the houses in person and taking pictures with the characters there. I miss that area. Now it's the new Fantasyland area in Florida. So seeing that in California really brought back some memories for me as a kid going to Disney, growing up going to Disney. So it was really awesome to see the Toontown area. And of course they have the Mickey and Minnie's Runaway Railway, one of my favorite rides. That one is fantastic. The theming for that one in Toontown is fantastic, where you're going through essentially a Toontown movie theater and you get to see all the Easter eggs, everything that's there, the little hidden details. You really got to pay attention, but it is awesome. Awesome ride there. Of course, you got to do everything like Space Mountain. You got to do Big Thunder Mountain Railroad. You got to do all these nostalgic rides. Pirates of the Caribbean, of course, which is the longer version. If you did not know, in California, it is basically twice as long as the ride in Florida. I will say that one is the superior Pirates. It does have 2 drops as opposed to the one in Florida, and they're a little unexpected. You see them obviously on the track that's coming, but they're a little unexpected of when they're coming within the ride, and the ride just kept going, and it was fantastic whenever we rode that ride. Now Disneyland also has the Matterhorn. I would recommend doing that one. Do that one early in the day. It kind of messes with your back. If you just wait till later in the day and you're really tired, it can really mess with you. But that one is so much fun. Very nostalgic ride there as well. And going over into California Adventure, my favorite ride there probably has to be either the Cars Radiator Springs Racers, or would have to be the Incredicoaster. Both of those rides, fantastic. California Adventure, I was actually surprised, has a lot of different kinds of rides. Now, there's not as many rides as there is in Disneyland. Of course, now there's a couple rides in the Cars Land. You got a couple rides like Spider-Man and Guardians of the Galaxy in the Avengers Campus. And then you get all the rides like Toy Story Mania and the Incredicoaster and a bunch of rides all around the rest of the park in the Pixar Pier area. And they have a lot of different kinds of rides. I was surprised at what they were able to fit in what seems like a little bit of a smaller park. But you have to try those out. The Cars Land area is probably the best theming that Imagineers have ever done in a specific land. It is fantastic, really walking through a life-size Radiator Springs from the movie. And of course, if you don't know, little tip, ask the employees, ask the cast members there when sunset is. Whenever you go, they'll tell you what time sunset is. And at sunset every single day, they do the lighting of the neon lights down the Radiator Springs Strip, just like they do in the movies. And it's really, really cool to see in person, and they make a big deal of it. It is really awesome. Every time we've gone so far, we've made it a point to be back there for the neon lights turning on. Of course, you get the Avengers Campus area, which has Spider-Man, Guardians of the Galaxy, and actually my favorite restaurant to eat, believe it or not, in California Adventure is the Pim Test Kitchen, because the foods are so fun. You get different size food. It's all themed around that Ant-Man, where things are different sizes, growing and shrinking. One of the orders I've always gotten is the Not So Little Chicken Sandwich. You've got to try that one out. They have the giant pretzel. They have all sorts of deconstructed foods, and it looks very, I will say, scientific with the deconstruction and how they do it. Very much in the vein of what you would think a scientist would do for a restaurant. Very, very cool theming there. Of course, you have the kind of main Hollywood area, the thoroughfare, the main walkthrough of the California Adventure, leading to the back of the park where Pixar Pier is, and the San Francisco area. Of course, there's restaurants there. I would recommend, trying something there for sure. They have snacks all through the Pixar Pier area. Pixar Pier is dominated, I will say, by Toy Story, but there's nothing wrong with that at all. Of course, there's The Incredibles there. There's Inside Out. And then we even ran into some new characters from Elemental this last visit, being obviously a Pixar movie. We ran into Ember and met Ember. That was pretty cool. So just kind of seeing all the Pixar characters and everything Pixar themed is really fun back in that area. And then as you circle around, you have, of course, the Little Mermaid ride. They will be opening a Coco ride soon. If you didn't know, they do have a Coco ride coming soon. As of this recording, it of course is not open just yet, but back toward that area, they're going to be opening up a new ride there. And as you go around to the Grizzly Peak area, they have the Grizzly River Rapids if you want to get wet in the summertime. They also have Soarin', the classic Soarin'. Now, I do think that they do the Soarin' over California only for special events and festivals. It is the regular Soarin' around the world. So the regular Soarin' that you would see in Florida is the exact same one that you would get in California, just at a normal time of the year outside of a festival or special event where they would do Soarin' over California. But definitely take the time to look at the details in each park. If you've been to Disneyland at all, you know the history that's in that park. If you're a fan of Disney, you know the history that's in that park. So I would recommend taking the time in every area, even the downtown Disney area, to really kind of soak in the atmosphere. One of my favorite things, just enjoy the park, enjoy the details, really enjoy your time there, as opposed to the park hopping. There's nothing wrong with park hopping by any means. It's just my preference to really kind of soak in the atmosphere of where you're at. So I would say enjoy the park, enjoy the history. So just kind of quick video today, just talking generally about Disneyland, and some little tips and hints there of potentially where to stay, what to do as far as the lightning lane to make sure you're skipping those lines. We've seen it firsthand, so make sure that you're doing that on, skipping the lines where you can, saving that time to really take in the rest of what the park has to offer. Check out those details. The Imagineers put in details in everything that they do. Of course, they're the best in their industry. So look at everything that Disneyland has to offer. Disneyland, California Adventure, Downtown Disney, even the hotels. Get a chance to really soak in the resort. If you've never been there, I do highly recommend going to take in that nostalgia, take in that history, walk where Walt walked, and it is a special feeling. You feel Walt's presence in the park. That is really something special to me. Really a Disney kind of history nerd myself. It is very special to kind of walk through there, feel the history, see the things that Walt put together himself, the dream and the vision that he had in that historic park. Again, he didn't see Walt Disney World to completion, but Disneyland was his park. So seeing that in person, of course, brings back just nostalgic memories for me as a kid. It brings that, you can feel that history there. So I do highly recommend making that trip. I just shared a little bit of tips here. If you have your own tips, please share those in the comments. I want to hear from you guys. Have you ever been to Disneyland? Are you planning a trip soon? What's your favorite rides there? What do you think about the parks? What's your opinion on park hopping? Just anything in the comments to keep the conversation going. And let's talk all things Disneyland. Again, of course, don't forget to follow us on TikTok and Instagram. Like this video, subscribe to the channel. And next time, I look forward to seeing you guys either on the waves or in the parks. Thanks, everybody.